Look alive, youngin'. Frida Reba Darcy and Patricia O'Connor. Hello, world. It is Frida Reba Darcy and Patricia O'Connor Caballero. Yeah, I like big sun hats. Not a big fan of Cancer. Today on the bonsai balcony, I have been doing a little bit of work. I thought I would do something. I had a couple of projects in mind. One of them worked out just kind of the way I wanted it, and one I was less successful with. And what I'm talking about is a couple of things. One, excuse me. You can see I have a row of little pine trees. Oh, I love those little pine trees. These are ponderosas and Japanese black pines. And they're kind of scrunched in here, and I have to move their pots around a little bit to make sure that everybody has plenty of room and nobody's getting flagged off by another tree, or their needles are going to turn yellow if another tree is over them somehow. So that has become a little bit of a juggle for space. And on the other hand, I have all of these trees here are just absolutely fine the way they are. They're a bunch of little straight up trees in a tray, and they're getting light from that guy, and they're also getting light from Del Sol. Look at that sky. Look at that sky. So it's not like we're really hurting for lit space here. But as I take one of these little trees and bend and put motion to it, it then takes up more space than it took up before. So then the trees that take up more space and are put into bonsai pots kind of end up a little bumper to bumper in here. So that's on one hand. That's one thing I'm thinking of, maximizing this space. Do I have too many trees? Whenever I start seeing damage to my little trees because they're overlapping one another and I haven't properly made, they're overcrowded and I haven't dealt with it for one reason or another. And it can cause a couple of little problems, none of which I'm really looking at now, but in past I've seen this, and I don't want anything to happen to my little guys, so, it stands to reason. But here's what. On one hand, I've got a tree right here in primo real estate. It is in very close proximity to some fabuloso grow lights, while at the same time, it is getting direct sunlight, more so than it actually needs. And that's as a dawn redwood, period. But also as a dawn red, it doesn't have a leaf on it. So why is it taking up all this cheap real estate? I had considered placing it here or here, because it would still get sunlight, but it doesn't have to take up this primo spot of light grabbing spot when it doesn't have a leaf on it. That was my thinking. This proved to be too short of an area for that size pot, as did that. And then my second idea was to put it there. It's too tall to go there. Okay, you're not too tall. You're looking just good. You're not too tall. But it would be too tall to fit there, so that wasn't going to happen. And that's a tall enough spot. It's kind of occupied. I could maybe change that to there and then put it here. That would be something. But that's also primo spot as far as light is concerned, and we're not going to need its ability to attract light between now and next spring. I would say all of these buds that you see here are dead on the vine and or just going to hang out there until next spring. So that's kind of what's going on there. I've kind of had that in mind. I'm in a fallback position there. My other idea was to use these are the last two little pine trees that we folded. I'm going to take a little moment to get up close and personal. This is the one that I call A Star Is Born. When we did that little video, I am This is an interesting concept. I took a really long limb on it, wrapped that really long limb around itself, and then wrapped a wire around both of them. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to see all that, but then we also have those small branches, and they have their hoops and their motion and stuff. And so now that little tree has been bent within an inch of its little life. And then last night, what I call solid movie, there it is. There's the chunk of ball gold I heard hit the ground when I picked it up. Also, this little tree has a really thick trunk, and it was because this just has because it had all those branches. It had all those branches, and it had all those, those all act as sacrifice branches. So this guy has got some, what I think to be some pretty terrific motion in it. And I'm just going to let it sit back and rest from this point. And I'm also excited about all those. It has some pretty interesting roots. Now, the one we worked on last night is pretty simple. I called this Silent Movie. I didn't like the quality of the sound production on there, so I just deleted it and went, this is a nice looking tree. And I was really enthralled by the looks of those roots. There is a wire right there. There is a brown aluminum wire that makes a bo peep hook in there. But most everything else there is roots. And the idea is to leave all of those little strands of fibers intact. And we got some good motion. I mean, for us, this is almost a little, subdued. But that tree makes a pretty shape. And those roots have a ton of possibilities. So I got happy with the look of this tree, what I would consider early, but I'm like, stop. Let's just take this from here. So that's what we did last night, and here's a little final look at that. And this area is going to be for anything else that I bend or have bent in the past couple of weeks, like this one. This guy got the same treatment, and it's hanging out of his pot. It no longer can sit in one of these little spots without taking up too much space. So this is the perfect place for this guy. And they're going to get plenty of light. They'll also be out of the wind. Boom, boom. There we go. So that I'm excited about. Also, I said on the last show or a couple of shows back, I showed this ponderosa that's a formal upright. It had so much so much sunburn on it that I said after the show, I don't think this is going to be a show unto itself, but I'm just going to sit back and watch TV tonight and relax. And I'm going to work on this tree. I'm always amazed. I'll look over my trees and I'll see the worst one. And I go, it's not dead, but it looks like, visually, it just looks like the worst tree. And I'll go in and I did I worked on this thing, not at some feverish pitch, but I gave this, I watched TV and looked at it and made decisions over what needed to come and go, and then would rotate it and see in better light things that were also, and we cleaned this up and we greatly enhanced the look of the tree. We also weeded it, and I've now got a very much defining first branch right there. As a result, we've still got some pretty tore up, beat up looking needles, but I think this little ponderosa formal upright, I looked at that when I didn't expect to fall back in. I didn't expect to fall in love with this tree when I was cleaning it up. And here's something else. Whenever you do that, whenever you see a tree that looks like it's, kind of bringing up the rear looks-wise a little. And so it's like, I probably should do something about that. So maybe you don't just snap to, but you think, I should maybe do something about that, 2 or 3 times. And then you're like, that's got a lot of needle damage on it from all of that sun. Man, I have made a decision about 6 months ago based on something that I heard one of my teachers say. It would be wonderful to think that every time you put your hands on the tree, it was better off for it. If every time you handled your tree, you made the tree better, then all of your collection would reflect that. And I thought that's an attitude, to have. Uh, Instead of just maybe bringing my tree and sitting on the turntable and looking over at it and going, wow, it's so nice that I have bonsai. And I'll do that because I don't get to spend as much time sometimes with my trees as I like. And it won't really hurt anything for me to bring one in for an hour or two while I'm doing my lessons or watching something else and just look over at that tree and go, wow, we're so lucky to have this as a hobby. I'm so lucky to have this little tree. Well, this thing looked absolutely wrecked, but whenever I pulled off all of those old needles, and there was a lot of them that were just old, but they were the first ones that burned the most. So just removing those went a long way towards straightening this tree up. And this whole bend right here had gotten a little too straight, but whenever I had first wired the tree, that part was a little green. And I didn't want to go yanking on that because it was green and it would snap like a pea, like a string bean. So so I put motion in that, and lo and behold, we just, every time you take a tree like this and you think, yeah, it needs some work, and it's uninspiring to you because it looks bad, that's your opportunity to fall back in love with that tree. And I'm always amazed. It's not that it looks perfect, but I'm always amazed how I can take something that's my 12th best tree and bring it back up to, much higher numbers if I were going to be the keeper of numbers in such a way. But that's what I did with this tree. Just like I did with that formal upright over there. I fell in love with that formal upright for the first time since I made it the other night when I was just clearing it of dead needles. And they both look like they've had, beautiful. I'm really impressed with the looks of both of these trees. And at the same time, look at this lush color and look at this guy. It has really had its ass kicked. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it'll be fine. My ponderosas, they're going to look a little faded this time of year. My black pines are starting to green back up because they're getting fed and because of the our falls are just kind of like a continuation of summer with 1 or 2 or 3 fall days per month, and not much else. We've been going through quite a bit of rain here in the past couple of days, but the last 2, it's finally dried up. And I watered my ponderosa for the first time since last week. I said we're going to have rain in 2 days, so I'm going to water this. And I think we got right around there to our sweet spot by the time the rain hit. And I was noticing that after it rained, it got really good and watered. And 3 days later, what with all the humidity, it was slow. All the trees were slow to vape off all of their water because the humidity was so high. But the color of all of our trees is good. I think I was able to time and mesh that pretty well. They told me what the weather was going to do, and this is one of the few times that it did what they said, and I was ready for that to happen. So cool there. Now we've created a little bit more room here. That could also be a longer brownie tin instead of a square one. So I probably got room for another 10 trees there once they're bent. And bent we will. I'm taking little guys here. There's a lot of 3rd-year needles. This guy looks pretty ratty, and there's some others in here that look pretty ratty, but a lot of what looks wrong with them is 3rd-year needles. It needs cleaning up. Cleaning up a tree can do so much towards elevating its appearance. Now I've made room. And that's how we do that. Boom. You come back over here. All right, so I've really been enjoying my soiree back into pine folding. I really like folding pine trees, Japanese black pines and ponderosas. I haven't started any ponderosas from seed, but we certainly have had our luck starting Japanese black pine from seeds. And I was watching some of my cohorts do their black pine thing. I'm especially lucky. Japanese black pines evolved on the Japanese coast, so there are no elevation trees. They're like next to the water species. So I suppose that means they're probably going to be somewhat salt tolerant. That also is why they're a multi flush. That is also why I gloat over my ability to pop them from seed. All I do is because people say it's okay to soak them for 24 hours. I found out early that I seemingly had better luck when I soaked them for 48 hours. And I found that out first by being lazy. Not lazy, but like 24 hours. And then all of a sudden I was busy or something, so that didn't happen to the next day. And then a couple of years of that, I'm like, yeah, so it's either way. And then the one time I was really on my game and did it in 24 hours, I noticed that I had less numbers. And I went back to 48, and that could have been luck. I mean, that's not enough. That's not enough times. A half a dozen times. It's not enough times to really have a good essay, or I mean a good census. But it seems to me that 48 hours works better. The ones where they tell you to soak your seeds, and the ones that sink are viable, and the floaters are not. I have known that to be true with many species of things. I have gotten once or twice 100% ratio of seeds that were popped to seeds that sprouted in the little cubes, and when I got that 100% ratio, I would say a third of those, or maybe 25% to a third, that's a made up figure, but just on looks, were floaters. So when it comes to Japanese black pines, I don't throw away the floaters. I pop them anyway. Yeah. So and I've had those succeed. So that might not be the end all be all with those seeds, but I do believe that whenever you're told that, for the most part, I still think that's true. I have known plants to where you could almost just about toss anything that didn't sink. But I'm gonna go on record as saying that's not so with Japanese black pines. Plant your floaters and see what happens. I've had extremely good luck with black pines, and it's been a lot of fun bending and folding. When you start bending and folding trees, and you get a shape in one that you like, it's really exciting. It really spurs you on to continue to do that. So you do one like this, and you think, oh my God, I folded that thing to death. And the next thing it does is it just gets green and lush and just acts like that wasn't anything. And then you turn around again and you see where it swells up like a python snake in between all of those wires. And this is this is a 3-year-old tree. And it's in by the way, it's an Elizabeth Crotendon pot. I really love this tree. But talk about a satisfying bonsai early. I don't have 20 years in this. This tree hasn't even, this was an impressive tree that I loved before it made its first limb. And now we're already starting to cut back needles and shoots on the limbs that it has. And I've still got some limb selection to do, but I'm not, but I'm encouraging health and vigor and fatness in it. And all of that while in a bonsai pot. So yeah, we're going through our stages of the bonsai vortex. We did our needle reduction this year and our candle cutting, and we're working on making shorter needles. And this is just this has really been rewarding. Little trees and little pots, little pines. I think this is one of 20 that I ordered in 2 orders of 10, and the rest of them were we popped from seed. Most of these, all of these, I think, we popped from seed out of the original 10, and then I folded those, and we had some, lost some, and then I did another order of 10, and we lost some and folded some, and we still have some. And then from then on, we've been popping trees 20 at a time. I'm gonna clean this up today. Just that looks like it looks like it maybe is neglected or something. It's not. It's got plenty of green happy needles, and the old stuff is not getting blown off of it because it's in this environment. So I'll clean this up. I appreciate you. Really appreciate you. This is our little pine show, and what we're doing about making space. Little pines don't need a whole lot of space, but they do need some. So this is going to be I think I'll probably dig up a longer brownie tin for there, and I can put maybe 10 trees there, up to 10 trees there, which is good. I mean, when you have all these cool shaped trees and stuff, they take up a little bit more space. That's certainly worth doing. I appreciate you. Frida appreciates you. And, oh man. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for watching.